This one's called The Girl with All the Gifts. Melanie is laying in her bed and the lights in her cell phone are up. She gets up and starts preparing for school. Two soldiers come in and she greets them happily, but the only thing they care about is securing her to the wheelchair. They take her out in the hallway, getting her in a line with other children like her. Melanie and the others are placed in a classroom positioned by numbers. Melanie asks the teacher, Miss Justino, to tell them a story and proposes she reads them a myth so that it could count as history. The teacher complies reluctantly and reads them the myth of Pandora's box. Now after class, Melanie is taken back to her cell where the two edgy soldiers refuse to greet her good night. Later, she's given dinner. The serving is a plate full of worms. She falls asleep as she eats the next day, and Melanie gets a visit from Dr. Caldwell. The girl has solved the riddle the doctor had given her, so she gives her a new one, explaining that it's a logic problem. He wants to give Justino a reminder of why that's the case. So he walks up to one of the children and rolls his sleeve, bringing his arms close to the child. The child sniffs him and wants to bite him with the jaw. Wanting to bite him, the other children mimic the same behavior. Now Sergeant Parks walks into Melanie's cell as the others are getting ready to take off her restraints. The girl antagonizes him, so he leaves her restrained to the chair. The same night, Justino goes to see Melanie, and when she realizes that she has been left like that, she walks into the cell and starts taking off the restraints. The girl gets a sniff of the teacher's scent and starts turning like the other children before Melanie turns completely insane. She tells the teacher to get out. Later that night, Dr. Caldwell comes to visit her again. They chat and ask the girl for another number. Melanie answers with the number 4, which is the same number as her own cell. The following morning, Sergeant Parks comes in to get Melanie. He gets her out of the cell and inside of an elevator. He wheels her out of the facility as gunshots are heard all around. Soldiers and are seen running and shooting toward the fence of the military complex. Melanie is confused and wheels to another part of the complex and takes her in a laboratory where Dr. Caldwell is waiting. She asks the girl about a guy's cat, but when she doesn't get the response she wants, she explains that the cat in the box is both alive and dead. Just like Melanie, a second doctor injects a sedative in her arm, instantly knocking her out. They move her to a slab and restrain her, but she quickly wakes up. Justina runs inside to stop the doctor from cutting up Melanie. After a few other promising words, she convinces the teacher to put her weapon down and immediately pepper sprays, incapacitating her so the soldiers can arrest her. The zombies completely take over the complex as the vehicle is seen leaving sometime later in the middle of nowhere. As Parks and Kieran realize that Melanie is in the back of the vehicle with them, Justino lets the girl out as Caldwell screams that doing that is not her decision. To make Melanie run just a little away from the vehicle and stops, clearly seeing the outside for the first time. The others stay by the vehicle trying to radio to other outposts, but no success. As the doctor tells them to retrieve her test subject, Parks and Kieran and Caldwell check the vehicles for supplies, but find no water or food, just a mask used to retrieve zombies. The sergeant makes a plan to go south to Beacon, assuming everyone back at the complex is dead except the zombie children. They put Melanie on the gunner's seat of the vehicle, strapped in and masked, and make their way to a river to get water. When they arrive, there are a few zombies, finding them and prompting them to a shootout. With the soldiers, one of the soldiers gets bitten, so Park waits a moment to see if he'll return. And when the process starts, he shoots him, closing the doors of the vehicle. He realizes that Justino has brought Melanie in with them, which makes him terribly nervous. The girl asked about the zombies, and Caldwell explains that they were people infected with a fungus transmitted through biting. When Park goes to start the vehicle, he realizes it's busted, and they will have to go on foot through London. Imagine that. A quicker but more dangerous route. Parks and Kieran survey the perimeter which they would have to cross. It's filled with zombies. They inform the others that there is no alternative route but to pass through the zombies and find shelter there. The supplies are also gonna be there. Once they're inside, the group walks between a mass of crazy sleeping, standing zombies, and they're very careful not to wake them up. Suddenly, Parker stops. When they reach a dead end, a zombie mother pushes a baby cart toward them, and Caldwell goes up to her, making her stop. You have to watch this movie, my friends. She sees the baby move in the cart and checks it only to find a rat inside. She yelps, waking the zombie mother first, and the others in the group managing to escape and moving through the zombie-filled streets of the city, eventually finding an abandoned hospital and going inside. Park finds an opening to another floor, and they all climb up, where they will be much safer. Parks, Justino, and Kieran immediately go on patrol while Caldwell and Melanie stay back as they're left alone. The girl asks where she came from. The doctor explains that her and others like her were found on a maternity ward in a hospital, and that they were the children of mothers who got infected with the fungus while they were still pregnant. So the infection got in their system through the placenta. Caldwell tells her that they were different than the other zombies. They were able to think and react almost like real people. Later, Justinia returns giving Melanie new clothes. They see something strange, that you see this fungus is growing out of their bodies, and something the doctor thinks is the next stage in the life cycle of the fungus. She then tells Melanie that in her case, the fungus works more as a symbiote than a parasite. Like in the others, now the others are going deeper in the city. They find a huge mass of bodies again, growing into a massive fungus that Caldwell suspects is the reason why no walking zombies are around. When enough of them come together, they transform into the mature stage of the fungus that can pollinate larger areas, if not the entire world. On their way, they suddenly find a mobile laboratory. They get inside the vehicle and start looking at traffic. Now Park tries the engine first, and then the radio, but no response. Kieran leaves on a supply run, and Melanie is getting uneasy like she's about to turn. A little girl appears behind him, startling him. She lures him between the rafters of the store, and momentarily more children appear. When their leader joins, they all attack. Meanwhile, Melanie is leading Parks and Justino. To him, she can smell him like the other kids. They finally arrive at the store and go inside and find Kieran half eating Melanie. Melanie realizes that the children didn't just set a trap for him, but for them as well. They go outside and see that she was right. The group of kids is waiting for them. Melanie challenges the leader and fights with him, and then she kills him to prove to the others that she is the strongest. She's able to protect Parks and Justino and lead them back to safety. They arrive at the lab to see that the doctor is open. When they walk inside, Caldwell sedates them with some kind of gas. She pulls Melanie towards the slab to perform her procedure, but stops because she's in a terrible pain from her hand, and then she turns around for a moment to fix it. But when she turns back around, Melanie's already conscious and alert. They talk, and she tries to convince the girl to give herself up so that she can save everyone with her vaccine. Melanie almost agrees, but asks one last question. She wants to know if the doctor thinks she's alive or just mimicking human behavior. Then the girl says, "Why should we die to save you, Melanie?" Now Melanie runs out, leaving the doctor in the lab, but she follows her, lagging behind Melanie with no gun or protection. Caldwell is immediately surrounded by the zombie children. Meanwhile, the girl goes to the huge fungus they found before. She sets it on fire with the intention to activate the spores. Unfortunately, Parks had followed her, and he gets infected. Melanie didn't plan for that to happen. As he starts turning, he asks her to shoot him before he becomes one of them. Later, Justina wakes up in the lab protected from the spores, realizing what just happened. With Melanie waiting for her outside the lab in the final moment of the film, Justina was woken up by Melanie. Some time has clearly passed. She takes out a whiteboard with her and starts a class with the zombie children. Listening to her from the other side of the lab window, Melanie is their leader, and they all attend Miss Justina's lesson. If you have received value in this video, I believe you know what to do. This one took a long time, and I thank you for listening, and I thank you for watching, and I thank you for listening.